Welcome to another Wrestling Carcast. It's your host, MBW Champion, and we just ended the week strong with some what do they call it? The shake-up, the wrestling shake-up. Superstar shake-up, that's what it was. Superstar. Yeah, so this week, Raw and SmackDown and NXT, and actually 205 Live, oh my god. So they shook up the roster a little bit. They sent some people to SmackDown, they sent some people to Raw, and I just want to kind of go over it a little bit. And that was going to be my main topic, but one of the main things that I'm going to start off with first, and it's going to be my main topic of choice, is the stupid name of the Viking Experience. And yes, I'm going to start with that because I have no idea what in the world WWE was thinking when they changed the name of the War Raiders. If you haven't saw Raw, or if you need more news and stuff like that, so the War Machines, or the War Raiders that they are in WWE, they are, man, this stop, that intersection was just crazy right there for some reason. Sorry about that. All right, so yeah, so they were War Machines, then they were War Raiders in NXT, and now when they come to WWE, apparently Vince McMahon, or I don't know who decided, was it like that War Raiders was a bad name, and just day of, just really with no thought, in my opinion, they renamed their team as War Raiders. And not only that, they changed their names. I believe they changed Hanson's name to it was Eric and something. I don't know. Anyways, stupid. Like this is what I want to talk about. Like I feel like wrestling fans are like broken records of just basically just of the annoyance that the creative team and Vince McMahon, like the way that they run their wrestling business and just don't care about, just about anything. So like, and they go back and forth. So like, and what I mean by that is in NXT, they have, in my opinion, that's their best product that they have is NXT. So they, they have feuds and they have all this stuff going, and it's kind of like they choose if they're going to forget their history, or they're gonna just basically just forget they even existed in NXT, for example. So say for example, Aleister Black and Ricochet, when they're coming in, they definitely mention their backgrounds and go like, oh yeah, this is this and this and that. I mean, when Johnny Gargano showed up with his belt, and so is Tommaso Ciampa, they showed him as champions and stuff like that. War Raiders, for example, they come out, they didn't have their belts with them, and they are the current NXT champions, currently. I don't know if that's changed during the tapings or anything, but currently they are the NXT champions, and they didn't show up with their NXT championships. Not only that, is they just didn't really ever mention anything about like their accomplishments in NXT, where they're just basically like destroying the tag team. It's just like, it's kind of like they did like a repackaging, setup and whatnot. But they go back and forth with all this stuff, and it just, to me, it's just frustrating. Where it seems like they do a lot of hard work to get fans involved and to, put on a good product, and then they just switch it up. They forget things, and then they just don't do it well. Like, they brought these guys, debuted them, and they did it in like a 4-on-4 match, and it was just like, I don't know, like, to me, like, the War Raiders were like, are so like, you know, such a good team, and like, it's like they're so powerful. To me, they didn't really show off what they can do on Raw, and it kind of, the match looked a little sloppy. Like, I feel like they only found out like 5 minutes before airing, like, hey, put a match together or something like that. But that's just Raw in general. But I feel like just tag teams are just like an afterthought. The storylines are an afterthought, and just especially the name, changing them to the Viking Experience. Who in their right mind thought the Viking Experience would be a great name? Like, I feel like Vince McMahon was basically just like, hey, they look like Vikings. What else can go with Vikings? The Vikings Express, the Viking Pirates, the Viking, I don't know, like, you know, they kept on going. And then they're like, oh wait, the Velveteen Dream talks about his experience all the time. Let's do the Viking Experience, which, by the way, is gonna be harmful for Velveteen Dream, because when he debuts on Raw, he's not gonna be able to use experience anymore, because that's already something that somebody else has. So he can't say that, you know, he can't say his line about the, you know, like, you're about to have an experience and stuff like that, because nope, that's the Vikings thing. We're gonna experience them. And plus, when Velveteen Dream comes to Raw, they'll probably name him Purple Dream, Purple Nightmare. I don't know. I think I'm kind of just at my wit's end of just like seeing so much potential come out of NXT, and them just do a shit job showing off like their new characters, and like, it's just really disappointing to me when I see like so much potential, and then they just don't do anything. And again, this is their debut. It could change. But the thing is, I feel like I've been saying that for years and years and years, and where it's like, I see potential, let's see what they do with it, and they always mess it up. There's a reason why, even just in this past year, ratings for Raw and SmackDown are down 1 million views, and you can blame it on, you know, you can blame it on like the way people watch TV now, or you can blame it on, you know, the basketball and all that stuff, like what's going on. But like, to me, it's not that. It's definitely just the show in general, like the writing, I feel like Raw and SmackDown are predictable. And even with the Superstars shakeup, I knew, like, my guesses were correct. Like, not all of them, you know, of course they surprised me with some. The NXT ones were pretty cool. Like, I didn't know that they were actually going to bring, like, the people that were brought in, right? But at least for like AJ Styles and Roman Reigns, I called that. Like, you could see it coming, and you know, I knew Finn Balor was gonna go. I knew, you know, like, just the way that they did the Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, I was thinking that Chad Gable was gonna leave. I was thinking Sheamus was gonna come on Raw. I didn't, like, so I don't know if that's confirmed. I mean, Cesaro was alone, so I was kind of confused with that. But it's just, again, wrestling, it's been predictable. And not only like the storylines, but the matches itself. I know exactly when it's going to go to commercial. I know exactly when they're going to do the hot tag. I know exactly when they're going to do certain stuff. And I think that's the reason why I like NXT, because they changed the format a little bit. You know, it's still WWE style, but they change it up to be different, which is great to me. I feel like that the matches are a lot cleaner. They're a lot they're a lot more fun to watch because I really sometimes don't know what's gonna happen, and like, you know, yeah, you could predict some stuff, but like it's not as predictable as Raw and SmackDown. I think this is the reason why everybody, wrestling fans in general, are just like excited for AEW, because like I feel like WWE has been stagnant for a long time, and AEW is, you know, gonna make it feel fresh. Like, I feel like the way that they're presenting things, they're really trying to make sure like they're coming out like not really going, I'm going against WWE, like we're gonna be a competitor, but no, they're more branding it like we are gonna be something different, and that's exactly what is needed for the WWE. Like they need to change their setup. They've been so far up in this machine that like just every way that the, you know, interviews are cut, the promos are cut, like they always have to look at this camera, they always have to, you know, say this line, they always have to, you know, say their words, like WWE Universe, blah blah blah, like just like camera angles, the lighting effects, the, you know, it's the same old, like everything in WWE is predictable. And the reason, in my opinion, why ratings are going down so much is because when it becomes predictable, you can miss episodes and still be caught up. You can miss episodes. Even you could just read online what happened in wrestling and basically have a visualization on exactly what happened, because really you've seen the same match over and over. Like how many times, like you know, during a feud that is happening for 5 months, and they're constantly like just feuding the same feud on TV every single week. It's like there's nothing different. Like it's just like I'm a little frustrated just because like I do put in a lot of hours to watch Raw and SmackDown and NXT and stuff like that. Like, so like it's frustrating when you see all this potential, all these new wrestlers coming out, and same old thing where like, you know, us as fans, we always go like, oh god, what is Vince gonna fuck up now? And then sure enough, the Viking Experience comes out, and you know, again, a name is not going to really define the tag team and stuff like that, but just right away, out of the gate, it's like you're just putting handicaps on them. Like, you didn't show them be awesome. You try to sell them as like they're just Vikings, and it's just like, that's not... This isn't the 80s anymore. Like, this isn't the early 90s. This is like... You need to move on and just get in touch with what the audience wants. And obviously, if your ratings are going down, you're doing something wrong. Obviously, if you had to stop your current storylines, come out in the middle of the ring and say to all the fans, hey, we're going to listen to you. If you have to come out and do that, that means you're probably doing something wrong. And when they did that whole thing, I really felt like I couldn't really trust them when they did it, right? Because you know, yes, you could say that, but are you actually going to do it? And to a degree, I do want to say that storyline wise, people have been vocal about how they wanted to see Becky Lynch be in a match, and they gave it to us. They were vocal about that we want to see Kofi Kingston, Kofi Mania, and all that stuff. The matches against like Finn Balor versus Brock Lesnar, we wanted to see the Demon back. You know, it came back. Like a lot of things that we want to, you know, that we've been asking for is happening, right? So to the credit of WWE, they are listening, but they're listening only halfway, and they're really only kind of doing like an image of what we're actually saying. The real problem with the WWE is not, well, that's part of the problem, so I'm not going to say like a 100%, but a big reason why WWE is still losing viewers, is still, doing all this stuff, is because they're not creating stars. They're not creating stars. Everything is too repetitive. There's still the 50-50 booking. There's still there's no real like surprises or anything. That and I don't mean surprises as I think WWE's default is, by the way, with surprises, is they always have somebody like return, or like the Undertaker returning and stuff like that. But it's very there's usually not any benefit from what the return is. There's not a return for the return. You need to hook. You need to have a hook. You need to do something so that we stay tuned for the next week. When Undertaker came out, it was just for a pop, and it was for hey, okay, that's going to be just a one-time off, right? To beat up Elias. But after that, there's no payoff. There's literally no payoff. Those surprises, cool, but that doesn't excite, oh my God, I need to see next week for this. There's not really that much excitement. It's just it's just very blah. I like the way that NXT does things because we don't see the same wrestlers over and over. We see Johnny Gargano one episode, and he won't be seen until 2 or 3 more episodes later. I like that style because now you're not relying just on one person that's going to be the face of, the WWE. You're going to be relying on multiple. I love the way that they can headline, or, the main event is, a women's match one day and a tag team match the other day. And then the main belt the next day. They do multiple things, and it's just really cool to see. Whereas in WWE Raw, they don't do that. They have the same wrestlers on every show, and it just gets repetitive, and they need to change it up. That's why I've always been a big supporter of an off season for them, or at least not a really off season, but to rotate. AJ Styles wrestled today, so have him have a vacation the next week. Don't call him in. Have another star, be in the show. Do something different. It's just, I don't know. It's everything. I know this was a jumbled mess of just stuff, but it's kind of just I'm just super frustrated with WWE. I know this one's a little long, but I just want to kind of wrap this up in a concise ordeal. So one, Vince needs to get his head out of his ass. I know you were a genius, and I know that you were great at what you do, or did, let's just say, but they're all past tense. What you're doing, you know how to run a product, or you know how to run your product well. But because you've been doing the same thing, just under different wrappers, basically you're doing the same thing, except instead of the guys main eventing, it's the girls main eventing. But everything just feels the same. Everything, there's no, if I was to watch a 2009 episode, a 2012, 2015, 2019, other than the graphics and like, you know, the way it's, you know, like obviously you could tell just based on like the cameras that they use. Other than that, the product has felt the same. I still know when there's going to be a hot tag. I still know when there's going to be this and that. Like, everything is so predictable. And I think you guys know, at least, that the hardcore wrestling fans, they're never going to leave. Marks, they're never going to leave. Me, I'm never going to leave. Like they know I'm going to continue watching wrestling. But you're losing the mainstream, the mainstream. And you can see it in the views. It's just, it continuously goes down. And it's because there's the quality in television, the quality in all these, you know, streaming services that are coming out. The quality that we have in those are just increasing. Like, look at Daredevil, look at, you know, like, look at all the, like, the TV shows that are coming out and like how they were back in the 90s and stuff like that. But now we have, like, you know, we had Breaking Bad, we had the Game of Thrones and stuff like that, where, you know, like that's a perfect example, Game of Thrones. People are excited to see the next episode because it's like, what's going to happen? You know, what's this and this and that? Everybody likes to talk about things and like just, you know, do like, you know, like kind of like, you know, like the brainstorming, like our predictions, like what's going to happen and all that stuff. Wrestling, since it's like this, nothing's changing, and it's like, it's not as fun to do that anymore. So since all the quality of all the other things are coming out, quality for wrestling, if it just maintains, people are just going to watch other things. Like, it's not necessarily how it used to be in the 90s, where like, if I'm watching USA, where I'm watching Raw, I only have a couple channels where I can go, well, I'm somewhat interested in this other channel and all that stuff. No, you have now you have to compete with, well, I can watch this show anytime I want because it's on Netflix, it's on Hulu, it's on, you know, like it's on a whole bunch of different streaming stuff where you can play things on demand. You don't have to wait until 9 p.m. in order to watch something. So like they have to compete with that, and since their quality is just going up, and wrestling, it's just, right, you have to do something different. You have to use your creative, you have a creative team, use them, have new ideas. Like again, everything is so predictable. When everything's so predictable, and when the people on top are making stupid ass decisions, we get repetitiveness and we get Viking Experience. And as a wrestling fan, I do not want that. And if that continues, it just makes me really sad, because I have good wrestling on NXT. I know I'm going to be tuning into AEW when it you know, hopefully eventually comes on a TV deal. And that's when I'm going to have to choose, because I'm not going to watch that many hours of wrestling. Like, I have a life. Like, is Raw and SmackDown, is that going to be, you know, so repetitive that I'm going to just read up what happened on various weeks? Or is it something that I want to tune into because I am going to see a good match where I can't call anything? Just right now, I can't see it. And to go back to that December, where they said, we're going to give fans what they want. Again, they listened as far as we give you the matches, right? But when the matches are predictable, when the matches are, you know, you can call things that are going to happen, when it's just, you know, the WWE machine. Break this. Have different styles. Don't have the cruiserweights wrestle a heavyweight style. Don't have this match, rely on like, we're doing a chokehold, and then the next match, oh, we're doing a chokehold. Change it. It's not rocket science. I know that they're smart enough to know exactly what they're doing, because NXT is proving that the model of like having differences and stuff like that, they know how to do it. Just the people in charge are basically like, well, mainstream, they react in waves. So basically, like, it's going to be boring right here, so that's why they do the chokeholds and stuff, and that's when you can start doing the commentating to get the storyline over and this and this and that. Now we need to time it so that everybody's getting into it, chants start going up, and then you do the hot tag, everybody's screaming, and then hit, and then of course the third one, they're going to do the big move, so they're going to hit the ground, blah, blah. Just all that repetitiveness. I feel like, why would you want your audience to be on their phones the majority of the match until the hot tag happens, or until they know the moment that the match is going to end? And it's like, don't you want them to enjoy the middle part? Like, I think that's where the gap is. Where, like, because that's happening so much, and because it's happening like with stupid storylines that nobody wants to follow anymore, they're just bored, they're tuned out, but they do want to see the ending. It's like, how much can they take while there's quality stuff elsewhere, and while they know that it could be more? Like, I don't know. I just don't know. Anyways, that was a long rant, and it's just something that, like, again, I'm passionate about, because I love wrestling. I really do love wrestling, but you can only do the same, or me personally, I can only watch the same old dance, so many times before I start tuning out. Like, last year, I stopped watching wrestling for 5 months. I was watching all the pay-per-views, but I just stopped watching Raw and SmackDown because it was just repetitive to me. Like, I knew exactly what was happening. I still kept up on the internet to read what was going on. But me not watching it didn't change a thing. I already knew, like, once I started watching it again, like, I knew exactly what was happening. I knew exactly where things were at. Like, it's just, change it up, WWE. Change it up. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time for another wrestling cast. And WWE, if you're listening, change it! Do something! Use your creativeness! Use your creativeness! And click on the videos and stuff like that, Subscribe. Do that bell thing. Clink, clink. Alright, bye guys.